Okay, hello. I'm JoAnn Stoneberg, and let me see here, talk about myself here for a minute. I call myself a soul investigator, intuitive astrologer, and I've studied evolutionary astrology, got into astrology, 15 years ago, and gravitated to evolutionary astrology, which really works with all of my other energy healing work that I do, dealing with past life regression and ancestor healing as well, and incorporating the astrology with that as well. It's really interesting watching how people shift and change. And when I was looking at this, when I was doing up this lecture for the sun through the houses, we all know the sun goes in the zodiac signs, but what about the sun through the houses? So I read about this in this book called The 12 Houses by Howard Sasperatus, and a foreword by Liz Green. And it very much touches on the sort of the evolution or our power, our purpose and direction, what my title says there, about the sun through each of the houses and how it plays a part in our lives as to where that shines. Unlike Pluto going through the houses, definitely paints a very different picture. So when you can add the two together, you get a very different combination of our authentic self, true authentic self of the sun in the particular house, and where Pluto is, can really describe that person and what they need to achieve or work through in their lives. So the sun through the houses here is understanding a deeper meaning and how we can discover how we can have the power to provoke change, implement choice, and hopefully create fresh alternatives. So let's see. So talking about the sun, all right, so the sun is our, oops, hang on a second. I'm just changing my screen here. There we go. The sun is our sense of identity, our authentic self-expression, our vitality, importance, recognition, our will, our purpose, our future goals, where we want to shine, right? So some other aspects of the sun is, when we look at mundane, it's 1,392,000 kilometers in diameter. It's 109 times the diameter of the Earth. It's 322,945 times the mass of the Earth. And the surface temperature is approximately 5,500 degrees Celsius, or centigrade. And the temperature in the sun, in the center of the sun, is 15 million degrees Celsius. So along with, now in astrology, now that's just, that big ball up in the sky that we see every day, right? And so the sun, as we know, is the element of fire. It rules the 5th house and Leo. So as we're talking about the sun through the houses here, we can also keep in mind where Leo is, which house cusp Leo is on. That's why I have the symbol of Leo in this chart here, there in this screenshot. It is, and in traditional astrology, it's detriment in Aquarius, it's exalted in Aries, and it's in its fall in Libra, okay? So we all know that the sun is the center of our solar system, and all of the planets revolve around it, except in astrology, it kind of goes the other way around, where the Earth is the center and the sun revolves around the Earth. But it's what sustains life on Earth, and without it, there'd be no life. It's the energy that we seem to emanate most strongly with, and that we're most conscious of. So when we look at the symbol of the sun, the circle with the dot in the middle, the circle is a symbol of infinity. There's no beginning and there's no end. And the dot represents the individual self. So the sun is I, right? It's bright, it's attractive, it's luminous. And the sun in our chart, is our solar battery, where it keeps us vitalized and energized. The qualities of the sun, the qualities of where the sun is placed in our chart, are where we will naturally express and shine within the world. We could ask ourselves, what makes you feel vital and energized? What charges your battery, your solar battery? And for the sake of our own personal evolution, growth, and happiness, we need to express our true authentic sun selves on a daily basis. If we're not able to express our true sun self, our sun's nature, we will have a feeling of discontent and, a low, right? Feeling of low. Therefore, to feel fulfilled, we need to express our true authentic selves. So how and where the sun is placed in our chart represents the area of life where we have the opportunity to express our true authentic nature and are able to evolve. If we ignore our sun's energy, it can lead to being stagnant, stuck, and unhappy. So the sun does give us a deeper meaning when we look at it like this, where we need to shine, stand out, and be special, depending on which of the 12 houses it is in, okay? So, and as I said before, the sun is also similar to the character of Leo in a house. So when you're looking at that in your chart, you can also look to see where Leo is as well. So some of the phrases for the sun here can be, my authentic self-expression is, and fill in the blank, or my vitality and happiness is, and fill in the blank. And I'll help you fill in the blank by going through each of the houses. But before we get to the houses here, I first want to talk about the houses, all right? I want to talk about, so there's 12 houses, right? Created back in the old days that were created back in the old days to match up with the 12 zodiacal signs at 30 degrees each. And this is a quote from The History of Houses by Robert Powell. So in today's world, we know that in the astrology world, we know that there are many different house systems which segregate the division of the houses into various degrees, all right? So now the reason I have, the 3 tarot cards there, and then there's a pie with all the planets on it. So an analogy I got from the Mountain Astrologer by Eric Francis Coppolino in the August-September 2017 issue, he related the house system, okay, or the positions of the houses to a tarot spread, all right? And as we know, readers of the tarot, they have certain placements where they put the tarot cards. This, if you're using 3 cards, the first card could represent the past, the middle one, the present, and the third one, the future. So not unlike the houses, each represent a different area of our lives. So, and not unlike a tarot spread. Now, tarot readers, they use their own spreads and their own placements to represent different areas of our lives, and then read the card that is placed on top of that area that represents that area of their life. So it's not unlike the house system in astrology. So it doesn't matter which house system you use, it's unique to you, as a tarot spread is unique to each reader, each tarot reader. And that's how I like to look at that. So, and then the houses are, as I said, they're the stage or departments of life for the different areas or rooms of existence. So even though each house represents what we know them to represent, 1 through 12, and they all have their certain attributes, it doesn't matter which house system you use, because it's still going to work with with your client, because it's unique and individual to you as the astrologer, just as the tarot spread is unique and individual to that tarot reader. It all works. So depending on which house the sun is placed in our chart is, again, where we naturally want to shine within the world and have the opportunity to express our true authentic nature. And, oh yes, and the pie. So it doesn't matter how you slice and dice the pie. Some people want, a little piece of pie. Some people want a big piece of pie. So you're going to have different sizes of pieces of pie for everybody in the room. That's why the pie is there. So, and as I explain the sun through each of the houses, keep in mind that the energies of the sign and the planets that occupy that house will also add to the meaning of our personal existence, okay? So we're just going to stay focused on the sun, but do keep in mind that of the other planets that are conjunct the sun or in aspect to the sun, some are good aspects, some not so good aspects, right? Or how the sun is aspected in the chart. Okay. All right. Okay, so sun in the first house. Okay. The realm of will and the physical body. So by just a show of hands there, or how many people have the sun in the first house? I know this doesn't, I don't know if this works so good with interaction on Zoom here versus being a live audience.
Yeah, people can just unmute and just say me or something like that.
Yeah. So if you just want to unmute and say me, if your sun is in the first house, if not,
Me.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, Marie. All right. So the sun in the first house is our, as we know, it's our instinctual nature and amplified in the personality. It's a need to be appreciated and respected, to feel important, strong, and outgoing. The power here is meant to influence, all right, and give a strong, outgoing, and often a friendly personality. And we'll have an approachable and attractive energy. And the same goes for when Leo is also on the ascendant. So the purpose here is to feel important and develop a sense of identity without relying on others so much. There's a need to be appreciated and respected for what they can do and create in their lives. So if the sun is well placed here, the person will be supported and able to express their true authentic nature and their need to feel important. If not placed well, the person may be overbearing, egocentric, and have excessive pride and may turn bitter and cynical. If they're not acknowledged and become resentful, they need to recognize that admiration and appreciation will need to be earned first. Okay, so for example, the TV star Ed Asner from way long ago, the lead for Lou Grant, he had his sun in Scorpio in the first house. He could not tolerate the political injustices and upset the show business establishment. And he upset the show business establishment and in turn upset his life and career. His Scorpio sun rules Leo in the 10th of career and reputation. So that's how you can incorporate, you know, Leo as well with what the person is doing in their lives. All right. Does that resonate with you, Marie?
Yes, I would say yes.
Okay, cool. I know, this stuff is so cool. Especially when I get to a couple of samples at the end here. All right, okay. The sun in the second house. So the sun in the second house is, okay, and we all know the second house is about values and resources, but with the sun here, it's a need to develop those skills, values, and resources. The needs security, stability, and material comfort. And typically they're born into or they accumulate wealth throughout their life. So they may also cause the soul to be born into wealth or one who accumulates it more quickly. So the purpose here is the need to develop those personal skills, values, and resources to achieve individuality by acquiring wealth and possessions. So we have to remember the sun symbol, right? It's the affinity in the circle and it's all about I, the dot in the middle. The need to define that security means for them rather than, again, relying on others. They will develop and create attributes such as strength, nobility, authority, and courage. Traits needed to feel safer no matter how much money is in the bank. Does anybody have sun in the second house? No. Okay. So here, now I know somebody who has sun in the second house, and yeah, he's accumulated wealth, right? It's like I'm looking at this going, wow. Right? Anyway, my example here is Maurice Chevalier was a French actor, cabaret singer, and entertainer, and had his sun in Virgo in the second house. He was born poor and died a millionaire. So yeah, all right. And well aspect. Now I've also met somebody else who has sun in the second house, but they don't have any wealth. So can go, you know, and that's because their sun is aspected not in a very good way. So, but he has the potential to, but chooses not to. So it's all about choice as well. All right. So sun in the third house here. Anybody with sun in the third house? No? Okay.
Yes, right. Yes, I do.
I do too.
Oh, okay. Wow. Alrighty then. All right. I think, okay. As we all know, the third house is all about communication and learning, right? So the power of the sun in the third will give a bright, attentive, and a strengthening of the intellect and communication abilities. The purpose and importance is to communicate daily, and there is a strong need for versatility. There's also a need for learning, and they feel most alive when doing so. There's also a need to feel heard and be noticed in the immediate environment. Direction, so just pause it for a minute. I was reading for a family the other day in their charts, and I was telling them one of their daughters had sun in the third house, and I said, oh yeah, she needs to feel heard. And they're going, yeah, she's always saying, you're not listening to me. Right? So I hope they change their tactics. I hope they start listening to her. But anyway, so direction here must be given to those who are competitive with their peers or rivals with their siblings. Difficult aspects to the sun in the third could also indicate problems in early schooling. This placement also makes the person feel that they could know more or communicate better. All right. So, for example, George Bernard Shaw, the Nobel Prize winning author, has sun in Leo in the third house. So he was, talk about being out there and proud, and look at me and here read my book, right? It's no wonder he's got the Nobel Prize, right? So does that make sense for you, Carly?
Yes, it does. Thank you, JoAnn. Yes, I'm a Leo as well.
Oh, you are, hey? Are you going for the Nobel Prize?
Oh, yes, definitely.
How about you, Linda?
Yes, and me too. I find it very interesting, a need to feel heard. That's interesting. I haven't even considered that before. So yes, I do have that. And also I do wish to communicate better. It's been a lifelong wish, to be a really good communicator, but of course we have to work on it. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, it's no accident then that you do what you do, right? You're communicating all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. I know this is so interesting. Okay. All right. The fourth house. Anybody in the fourth house? I think we covered everybody already, except for Della. I'm not sure. Anyway, so sun in the fourth house is all about our feelings and our emotions, right? And the sun here will usually bring a happy and strong family bond, and will express a natural nurturing quality and sensitivity to others, all right? So the purpose is to delve deep into one's emotional self to find themselves, to find their own individual identity as separate from the family and still know that they are part of the family. The danger here is to not totally disengage from the family roots or to deny your own uniqueness and originality, but to combine the two, to carry on with a family tradition, but doing it in your own way. So there's a strong need to own your own home so you can exercise your own authority and influence. And the importance here is to create, learn, and have a secure home base by working through our deep emotional sensitivities. The expression of our own unique and special identity are typically developed in the second half of life. So the example here, they never gave an example here, but I can truly attest to this one. My Leo is in the fourth house, but it's intercepted with the house system I use. Now, if I use a different house system, it won't be intercepted, but it's still in the fourth house. So I very much resonate with the emotional thing and being part of the family, but still finding my own individuality and tradition in the family. So it's a bit of a conundrum, really, and owning my own home too, very important there as well. So yeah.
JoAnn?
Yes?
Hi, this is Patrice. I have that. You haven't got to my sun house position yet, but that is my Leo is on the fourth house cusp too. And okay. I wanted to give a quick example of that for Christmas, for getting together with the family. I'm separated from the kid's father, and for a long time, and we get along. So I've made arrangements. We're staying 5 days in a certain place, and I've made separate arrangements because I've kind of learned down through the years for myself to be around the family, but yet I have my own place.
Yeah. Exactly. I know. Yeah. And yeah, it's coming up with your own way of doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It feels just right.
I know. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right. Sun in the 5th house. Okay. Our willpower. Now here, Leo is also here too, on the natural wheel. So the sun here is, the realm of self-expression and creativity. So here, the sun is in its natural element and will give the strongest need to create, have fun, and entertain. It is vital for the individual to create an outlet for the authentic self. All right. So the purpose or desire of a strong 5th house person is to authentically express oneself creatively and on an ongoing basis. So in engaging in activities that make them feel good about themselves, gives them a sense of identity, power, and purpose in life. If not, the person may become listless, become ill and depressed, and have little to no willpower and motivation. So very, very true to form there. My sister has sun in the 5th house, and very true. She's always entertaining at home, constantly entertaining. And she's also an actress as well. So makes sense. Right? So the activated 5th house person is therefore learning to integrate a healthy self-esteem, courage, and confidence to shine in the world. Love, affairs, and romance are also heightened with this placement. The danger here is a parent with this placement may project or attempt to live out their desires vicariously through their children. Not so with my sister. She couldn't wait to get them out of the house. Anyway, the other concern is that these people need to be the center of attention and may resort to devious and manipulative ways to gain that attention. So an example here is Sir Richard Burton with the sun in the 5th, was a scholarly English explorer who wrote about his adventures in exotic lands. His 5th house sun was ruled by Leo in the 9th and 10th houses of long journeys and career. So very cool. Anyone 5th house sun? Nope. Okay. All right. On to the 6th house. All right. So the 6th house, as we know, is all about analyzing, analytical, critical, being of service, right? But with the sun here, so the sun in the 6th house is to give the individual a positive attitude towards health, daily ritual, and work. All right. It's all about finding a meaningful place within society. The person's contribution and what we want to contribute and their role in the world. The individual will constantly need to find a place and purpose to be of service to society and become a mentor to those who need it. Because of this, the activated 6th house will give a knack for success and a strong drive to work continuously in order to feel content and fulfilled in life. So as we know, the 6th house is all about work and no play, right? So they also need to form a good relationship with their body because it's all about maintaining their health as well. Any ill treatment or neglect will result in illness. However, the path back to health also serves as a tool to help others in maintaining their good health. So this is where you'll find healers and doctors and such, possibly. So the awareness for the 6th house or Virgo person is to not get so caught up in the details, right, as Virgos like to do, that the vision is never actualized, but to hold on to an idea and eventually manifest it into a mundane service. The hard lesson is to know that everything does not need to be as perfect as I idealize it to be. This realization needs to be realized before any meaningful accomplishment can be achieved. So they need to step out of their way and look at the bigger picture. So the one example here is more or less is a Zen saying for the 6th house. So chop wood, carry water, chop wood, carry water, become enlightened, right? And then go back to chop wood, carry water, chop wood, carry water. So anybody have sun in the 6th house? No. All right. All right. Okay. Sun in the 7th house. All right. Relationships. All right. Balancing. All right. The inner and outer relationships. So here, the The individual with the sun in the 7th will find a sense of power, purpose, and individuality through relationships and partnerships. By participating in group activities, it helps them to define more clearly who they are. So the sun here, a personality has more meaning when seen in relation to other personalities. The I, the dot in the sun, therefore needs a thou, okay? This placement can give a popularity and attract many harmonious relationships, okay? On the downside, the sun in the 7th house person may look for someone who will tell them what to do with their lives. They may look for an important or influential figure to gain prestige and authority, or look for a hero type person they can serve, worship, that they can serve and worship and forever adore. It can also be a search for a daddy figure. So the individuation process for the sun in the 7th house needs to be involved with other people, okay? So for example, and this is a good example, Princess Diana of England, married to Prince Charles, has sun in the 7th. She was 20 and he was 33 when they got married. So interesting there. And my son is also in the 7th house, and I can very much relate to this archetype of the sun being in the 7th house here about my I needs a thou. I work better in, have many harmonious relationships with people, but I have to watch not to find those people to find my own individuality within relationships and not have those other people telling me what to do. So there's a balance there, right? So hopefully I've learned all of this as I've gotten older now. Anybody else with sun in the 7th? No? Okay, all right. Now we come to the 8th house, all right? Sun in the 8th house, I desire, all right. The realm of rejuvenation, all right. So the purpose here is it will give a natural affinity for understanding and exploring the inner psychology of others. There will be no fear within this darkness because there's, you got the sun there, it's shining. And they will be drawn to help others understand their own psychological patterns through social or psychiatric work. The 8th house sun may want to embellish their identity, value, and worth by drawing to them other people's money and possessions, not unlike being invited to a midnight feast at Count Dracula's castle, right? So, however, it just so happens that people who want to be involved with an 8th house sun will give them gifts, inheritances, or investing in a joint or collective enterprise in the world of business or finance. As long as the person with the sun in the 8th house is on the up and up and not hiding something, right? So for this sun placement here to truly transform, they must fully engage in real intimacy and relationships which can act as catalysts for growth and change and help to come to terms with unresolved childhood emotions, okay? So they're learning more about themselves through real intimacy and relationships to help them resolve childhood emotions. And then there's always, of course, the fascination with the hidden, the occult, death, and anything else taboo. So an example here is Evel Knievel, who performed death-defying stunts, living on the edge. Hugh Hefner, the founder of Playboy, he was the first to openly write about sex and has sun in Aries in the 8th house, right? So anybody with the 8th house sun?
Yeah, I do.
I do too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of us here.
Yeah, or Leo on the 8th house cusp, right? Do you relate with any of that?
Yeah, everything except for the coming into any inheritances.
Same here. What was say? I agree with Robin. No big inheritances. Not in the monetary form, but maybe inheritances as far as just knowledge of self through others.
Yeah. We can always think of inheritance not as money, but what else did we inherit from our family, right? Or other people, right? Yeah. And Kimberly, you had sun in the 8th house?
Yeah, and I haven't had any big inheritances, but I do have you know, as far as money, but I have a lot of jewelry that that has been bequeathed to me. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, cool. All right. Okay. So sun in the 9th house. I see. All right. So the purpose here is to broaden their understanding, of course, and their perspective on life, right? Through travel, reading, flights of imagination, or philosophical inquiry. There's a need to be authentically free and optimistic in nature, all right? Sharing and exchanging their experiences with others helps them to distinguish themselves. They need to be cautious not to lose touch with everyday reality by becoming overly concerned with the big picture. They may be great at giving advice and counsel to others, yet never apply it to themselves, right? So the sun here always needs something to believe in, okay? And always looking at the bigger picture. So for an example, Thomas Mann has sun in the 9th house. He was a philosophical German writer, and he believed humans were a great experiment, right? The failure of which would be the failure of creation itself. So he was thinking on a much grander scale and looking at the world and the globe and humans and nature, and not going down to the detail of different cultures, different languages, different, you know, different races of people. He was looking at everybody as a whole, right? So, and needing something to believe in, right? So, but like I said, this is where you also have to be careful not to get too caught up in the bigger picture and the flights of fancy, but also needing to share your experiences here as well. So the person here is also needing to have an audience, I guess, to be able to share their ideas and experience to distinguish themselves from others. Okay. Anybody have 9th house sun or Leo on the 9th house cusp? No. Okay. All right. 10th house. All right. 10th house, all about career and our authority and our responsibilities and our obligations. All right. However, with the sun here, the sun here is more bound up with the career and professional achievements, and they want others to notice and be seen as someone of power and strength and authority in respect to the sign in which it is placed. So if you have sun in Gemini in the 10th house, you want to be known and seen and recognized for your power of that your intellect is acknowledged and seen. Sun in Pisces, you want to be recognized for your power to heal, enchant, and inspire. So sun in Leo here, if you're an actress, you may want to be recognized for being a really good actor or actress, right? So there's also a need to be the center of attention and admired as somebody in the 10th house. So it's all about prestige here, the sun, right? You know, and women with this placement, all right, who may not achieve their own success, may do so by attaching themselves to successful men as partners, all right? So if you know of any famous women, I'd actually like to see the charts of women who are attached to, you know, famous men and see if their sun is in the 10th house, right? Maybe, what's her name, Ivana Trump? See if her sun is in the 10th house or not. Anyway, so the danger here is that their sense of identity can be too heavily relied upon, and the need for success, title, and prestige in the world, they could lose the sense of who they truly are. So they can get overly caught up in the prestige, like I say, and forget who they truly are. So an example here, a couple of examples. John DeLorean, a business executive, worked tirelessly to make a name for himself, had sun in Capricorn in the 10th. Mickey Rooney, sun in Libra, a childhood star, made his way to the top and stayed there, right? So at some point, like I said, with the sun here, you must look at how much you're doing for, you know, how much you're doing for yourself and how much is being done to maintain your success. So there's, you know, there's got to be a balance there, or a healthy self-esteem and a healthy balance between being too overly too much power and strength and authority, you know, versus where's the true person, right? Anybody with sun in the 10th?
That would be me.
Ah, okay. Do you resonate with any of that?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Well, I'll tell you why. I have a tight Pluto, or Jupiter-Pluto opposition, 1 degree in the 4th house in Leo.
Okay.
So I work a lot with my 4th house and transformation, and one could say that Pluto, the Jupiter is balsamic to Pluto, kind of keeps me in line. Transforming all the time, yeah.
Right, and so you have Sun in Aquarius then in the 10th?
I do.
Okay, so you need to stand out as unique and individual.
Yeah, and I'm an astrologer,
right?
so
yeah,
that, you know, that does fit, and I'm very proud of that and work with that. So yeah, it's certainly parts of it do, but I just, you know, want to say how that strong aspect really changes things with the Pluto.
It would, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, especially with Pluto opposite that, because how far away is Pluto and the Sun, like degree with what is it?
It's 1 degree tight opposition by 1 degree. I'm 20.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That is tight. So
yeah, and my Jupiter in Leo is exactly 26 degree opposite the Sun.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the other thing here too is father-mother stuff going on as well. So with the 10th house, 4th house as well.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Gender change, you know, with EA Astrology, gender change, and then also have a Saturn squaring that, it's a T-square to that opposition.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so lots going on there for you with that Sun in the 10th house in Aquarius.
Yeah, it modifies your description a little bit, just, and that's why I wanted to share with you why.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, so so that's a really good example as to, like I said, I'm just giving you the general descriptions. Right?
Yeah.
But when you start bringing in all the aspects and oppositions and squares, it really paints a different picture.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. But you still need to stand out and be your own unique self, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And identify with that.
I think I do that with the Aquarius up there. Uh-huh.
Oh, totally. Breaking free from the norm. You rebel, you. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Okay. Sun in the 11th house. All right. So the, you know, humanitarianism, uniqueness, our individuality, you know, our involvement, right? So here we need to express ourselves openly, uniquely, and independently in order for others to do the same. This placement usually brings popularity, all right? So the Sun in the 11th here establishes a sense of identity through social, humanitarian, or political activities. Recognition is gained through being popular in groups, right? It is not uncommon for those with this placement to rise to a position of influence. How they handle this position depends on the other aspects to the Sun. So really interesting to watch somebody with the Sun placement here. And the danger for this position is being careful not to lose your own identity within the group either, to distinguish between what they believe and what the group tells them to believe. So watching you don't drink the Kool-Aid and you'll be fine, right? So maintaining your own unique and independent self. So it is also best here for the Sun in the 11th house person to set goals for themselves and to help them with a more solid and concrete sense of identity, purpose, and power. Having a reason to live is paramount in the self-healing process. So lots of goals need to be set for somebody here so they have something to work towards. So an example here, and this is Upton Sinclair, a writer. He was famous for his classic muckraking novel, The Jungle, back in 1906, which exposed labor and sanitary conditions in the US meatpacking industry back in 1906, right? He had his Sun conjunct Mars in Virgo in the 11th house, right? So he was all about humanitarian, took action on a health issue, right? I love astrology. You can't make this stuff up if you tried, you know, like it just works. So any thoughts or comments on Sun in the 11th house or Leo on the 11th house cusps? Okay. So Sun in the 12th house. Right. So let's see here. So the Sun in the 12th house is a bit of a conundrum here, all right? So the Sun is to establish, to clarify, and to express our separate identity, all right? And the 12th house comes along and wants to dissolve, undermine, destructure, can be overwhelming, and, you know, overwhelm the boundaries of the ego, because the Sun is about our ego as well. And so what's the Sun to do here? You know, when he's all about the ego and look at me and what I do, right? When the 12th house placement is all about dissolving and being accepting and, you know, and very Zen-like, if you will, and dissolves the boundaries. So the sense of I, okay, with the Sun must go beyond the reaches of the consciousness and play a part as a servant of the soul. So we've got the consciousness of the Sun and the unconscious collective of the 12th house, you know, and how do you combine that? So the challenge here is to bridge those borders between the two, between the personal and the universal, the conscious and the unconscious, the individual ego and the collective self. So the ego needs to be flexible enough to allow that bridge between the two realms to occur, or it could be overwhelming for the person, excuse me. So the danger here with the Sun in the 12th is the ego may reject the collective unconscious and anything to do with the irrational, the mystical, or the transpersonal, all right? However, it's still going to sneak into your life when you're sleeping, okay? And that's where the irrational and the mystical takes over, all right? So you may have weird dreams, ignore them, not remember them, don't want to remember them, right? And in the morning, it's back to I, and never the two shall meet, okay? So this is why you may have some people, I don't believe in anything, right? No, I don't believe that, right? Or they're very skeptical, right? So this placement could also be very beneficial, as a person with the Sun in the 12th can also act as a channel or a medium between the two worlds and make them very effective as servants and healers. So I do know a couple of people with Sun in the 12th, and they are very much in very strong communication with you know, the other world there, and very strong mediums and channels, and they make great healers. So this placement also allows for the individual to spiritualize their lives through authentic self-expression of charity, unconditional love, acceptance, and selfless acts to others. So the other thing with the Sun in the 12th house here, because it is a very sensitive area, they need to have, the Sun in the 12th house here would need to have time to themselves and time in nature to recharge their battery, because the outside world can get very overwhelming for them, okay? And then also looking at what other planets are conjunct the Sun and other aspects to the 12th house Sun would, you know, paint a different picture, of course. Yeah. Anybody with 12th house Sun or Leo on the 12th?
I do.
Oh, you do? You have Leo on the 12th?
I have 12th house Sun, yeah, and Leo on the 1st.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
But my
So,
my ascendant is 14 degrees Leo, and then my Sun is 8.
Okay. Do you resonate with that?
I do. I feel like it has definitely been a conundrum.
Yeah.
It's like a paradox.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say just now am I starting to see how it's even possible.
Yeah, to marry the two, to bridge the gap and find a happy medium between the two.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. All right.
I have Leo on the 12th, and I can relate to quite a bit of what you said too.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Okay. Now, here's my book. Oh. Okay. All right. So I just have to go grab another book here. Hang on. Okay, so when I was doing the sun through the houses, so what to look for, right? So you want to look at the house placement of the natal sun. That'll give you the life theme of the individual, right? And then I looked at, well, what about the progressed sun and the transiting sun, right? So as we know, the transiting sun takes, a month, approximately a month to go through, around the chart in a year, right? And so where the sun is now in your chart, okay, because we're in Libra right now, so it's hitting my 6th house. It's all about work, work, work for me right now. It's transiting my 6th house right now. So if you can look at what's going on, in your life as the sun transits through the houses, if you notice any subtle differences about what you're doing or what's going on, right? And then last month when the sun was going through, what was it, Virgo, which hits my 5th house, I was doing a lot of creative work, right? And getting into the details of it, right? So really interesting. And then the progressed sun, okay, will show you points of life transitions when it switches between houses and signs, all right? So again, it doesn't matter which house system you use, it still all works, right? So let's see here. So I looked at my own chart, right? And so the progressed sun, as we know, will go through 3 or 4 signs or 3 or 4 houses, depending on where it starts, right? So I was looking at mine, and when my progressed sun, let's see here, what happened? Oh, okay. When my progressed sun was in the 8th house and went from Sagittarius to Capricorn, that's when I got married, right? And then when it hit the 9th house in Capricorn, in Capricorn, when it went from the 8th house to the 9th house, that's when I broke free and got divorced, right? And then, it's really interesting. And then, and now today, my progressed sun has just gone from Capricorn, where is it now? The 9th house into the 10th house, all right, into Aquarius. And I'm actually feeling a little more detached from everybody, finding my own footing, being more individual, being more my own unique self, and identifying with me and what I want to do in my career for work in the 10th house now. So really interesting to look at that. It's subtle, but when you really break it down and look at it, it's very interesting. Does anybody, and just also to share too, a friend of mine, she went, when her progressed sun went from Gemini into the sign of Cancer in the 10th house, she had a child, okay? So she identified by being a mother, right? So really interesting when you look at the progressed sun and the transiting sun as well, just to show life themes and what sort of happened during those transitions between signs and between houses as well. So yeah, and let's see. So if anybody has any comments or questions they'd like to add, that's about it for my lecture. So thank you everyone for attending and listening and participating. Unless anybody has any questions or comments.
Okay, and thank you so much. That was so interesting, very informative, lots of fun. Now, do we have any final comments or questions from the audience?
I have a question on how do you kind of combine that progressed sun with the natal sign.
Okay, so you're talking about progressions then?
Yes.
So the progressed sun moves, so through our lives for progressions, the progressed sun moves 1 degree every year in our lives. Okay, so it's only going to move, three signs, right? And maybe 3 or 4 houses. that make sense?
Yes, yes, it does. I kind of related to what you had said earlier about, especially with your son moving into the 10th. Mine is not quite there yet. I think I've still got either 2 or 3 years, but it has changed signs, and I definitely feel that difference, because I think when I look at it, when it was in Taurus, it just changed to Gemini a couple of years back. When it was in Taurus, there was no way that I would do something like this now. You know, talking like this. And I've noticed as it once it crossed my North Node, which is not that far from the midheaven, and then it changed signs about a year or 2 later. Now I'm, feeling a little bit more confident. It's still, kind of shy, but feel more confident as far as, getting just even, talking like this in an environment like this.
Yeah. So and that's the Gemini, right? So yeah, it's very neat how you sort of subtly feel it, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm talking. Who is this person? Right? Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Would you all please thank JoAnn Stoneberg, everyone?
Thanks, JoAnn.
Thanks, Sue. Hi, Sue.
Thank you, JoAnn.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you. That was very interesting.
Thank you.